Today we have to discuss a very important concept, that is time value of money. By time value of money, we mean the value of money today is more than the value of money in future. A firm has cash flows occurring in different time periods. Cash flows occur in different time periods and cannot be treated at par even if they are of same amount. As we move into the future, the uncertainty increases and hence the risk. A rupee that is received today is more valuable than the rupee received in distant future. Here the question arises that why individuals prefer the money now? This is because when we receive money today, we can reinvest it and earn some return on it. The future is uncertain, and because of uncertainty and risk, an individual is not certain about the future cash flows. And so it is rightly said, a bird in hand is better than the two in bush. Individuals prefer money now so that they can use it for current consumption, which otherwise they would have to postpone. What are the reasons for time value of money? The three major reasons for time value of money are risk and uncertainty, preference for current consumption, and investment opportunities. Time value of money is an individual's preference for possession of a given amount of money now rather than the same amount at some future time. It means that the value of a unit of money is different in different time periods. This concept can be explained with an example. An individual is offered rupees 500 now and rupees 500 1 year after, would prefer 500 now because either he can use it for present consumption or he can invest it and earn a return of say 10%, and at the end of 1 year his money would become 550. The time preference for money is expressed by an interest rate which will be positive even if there is no risk and therefore called risk-free rate. All the government securities give this return. In reality, there is some amount of risk involved, so the investor requires a return which actually compensates him for bearing risk called risk premium. Therefore, the required rate of return is the summation of risk-free rate as well as risk premium. The risk-free rate compensates for the time and the risk premium compensates for the risk. The required rate of return helps in converting of cash flows in different periods to its present value. Here we are referring to the two most important techniques for adjusting the cash flows. First, compounding, and second, discounting. Compounding is the technique for converting the present value to future value of cash flows. We will understand this technique with the help of a numerical example. Mr. Bajrangi invests in a saving bank account rupees 5,000 at 5% interest compounded annually. How much would he receive at the end of the first year and second year? He would receive rupees 5,250 at the end of first year, and at the end of second year he would receive 5% on 5,250, that is rupees 262.50 paisa as interest, and principal amount would be rupees 5,512.50 paisa. Discounting is the technique of converting the future value into present value of cash flows. Let's understand this technique with an example. Mr. Bajrangi has been given an opportunity to receive rupees 5060 1 year from now at an interest of 6%. How much he should be investing now? We must determine how much rupees must be invested at 6% today to get 5060 rupees after 1 year. Suppose P is the principal which is invested at 6%, then by using the formula P within brackets 1 plus 0.06 would lead to 5060. Therefore, when P is equal to 5060 divided by 1.06 would give a result of rupees 4774. 4774 would be the present value of rupees 5060 received 1 year from now. Future value is the value of money in future. On the other hand, present value of a future cash flow is the amount of current cash that is of equivalent value to the decision maker. Now let's understand the concept of compound value. The compound value can be future value for a lump sum or annuity. The compound value factor is always greater than 1, indicating that present value will always grow to a larger compound value. Now let's move on to the concept of annuity. Annuity is a fixed payment or receipt each year for a specified number of years. For example, if you rent a flat and promise to make a series of payments over an agreed period, it is creating an annuity. An individual places rupees 10,000 in the savings account of a bank at 5% interest rate. How much shall it grow at the end of 3 years? By using the formula F1 equal to 10,000 plus 10,000 multiplied by 5% would result into an interest of 500. When added with principal, it would give rise to 10,500 rupees. Now, in the second year, when 5% interest is calculated on the new principal, that is 10,500, it is going to give an interest of 525 rupees, which would be added to 10,500 will lead to 11,025 rupees. In the third year, the interest of 5% would be calculated on 11,025, which would result into an interest of 551 rupees 25 paisa, and when added to the principal, that is 11,025 rupees, it would give rise to an amount equal to 11,576 rupees 25 paisa. So, the amount of 10,000 has grown to 11,576 in 3 years. In compounding, interest is earned on interest. If we directly multiply 10,000 with the compound value factor, that is 1.1576 for 3 years, which is available from the table values, the amount is 11,576. Take another example to understand this concept. A firm deposits rupees 50,000 at the end of each year for 4 years at 6% rate of interest. How much would this annuity accumulate at the end of the 4th year? If we multiply 4.375 by rupees 50,000, which is available from table value, we obtain a compound value of rupees 2,18,750. Mr. X deposited 65,650 in a bank which pays a 12% rate of interest on a 10-year time deposit. How much would the deposit grow at the end of 10 years? So, to find this, we will first find out the compound value factor at 12% for 10 years. Referring to table A and reading the 10th row for 10 year and 12% interest column, we get compound value factor of rupee 1 as 3.106. This 3.106 is multiplied by rupees 65,650. So, we get rupees 2,03,908.90 paisa as the compound value. Now, let us understand the concept of perpetuity. Perpetuity is an annuity that occurs indefinitely. Perpetuities are not very common in financial decision making. Let's understand this concept with an example. Mr. Bajrangi wants to find out the present value of investments which yield rupees 2,500 in perpetuity discounted at 5%. This can be calculated with the help of a formula: principal is equal to annuity divided by interest. Here the annuity is 2,500 rupees, interest or discount rate is 0.05, so P is equal to 50,000 rupees. Now, a very important concept of nominal and effective rate of interest needs to be understood by all. Nominal rate of interest is the normal rate given on the investment annually. It is also known as the coupon rate of interest. When compounding is done multiple times in a year, it becomes effective rate of interest. Risk concept is a very important concept and needs to be discussed here. A firm is exposed to different types of risk. Risk exists because the decision maker cannot make perfect forecast. Risk occurs when the actual differs from the expected forecast. It is simply because forecast cannot be made accurately as future is uncertain. An investment is considered to be safe if cash flows occur as per the estimates, so risk arises in investment evaluation because we cannot anticipate the occurrence of the possible future events with certainty. Risk is defined as the variability that is likely to occur in the future returns from the investment. When investment is made in government securities, say bond of rupees 10,000, it is almost a risk-free investment as there is very less possibility that the government would default. So, the rate of interest which is earned on such investment is known as risk-free rate of interest. This kind of investment assures you low rate of interest or return, but in all the investments, return is not static. It is variable as in case of equity investment. Risk is associated with variability of returns. The greater the variability, the riskier is the investment. We have various statistical techniques which are analytical tools for handling risky investments. These techniques help in the estimation of risk in the capital budgeting proposals. Now, let us discuss types of techniques. The very first technique is probability assignment. It is described as a measure of someone's opinion about the likelihood that an event will occur. If event is certain to occur, we assign the probability of 1, but if the event is not certain to happen, we assign the probability of 0. Thus, probability of all events will fall between 0 and 1. The other technique is variance and standard deviation. The dispersion, that is the actual cash flows, are different from the expected ones, indicates the risk. A commonly measure of this risk is standard deviation or variance. If the standard deviation is high, then it indicates that there are large deviations and the project is more risky. Moving to the other technique, coefficient of variation, it is a relative measure of risk. It is the coefficient of variation. It is defined as the standard deviation of the probability distribution divided by its expected value. This measure is useful when we are comparing the projects which have same standard deviations but different expected values, or same expected values but different standard deviations. Risk and uncertainty are two different situations. Risk is a situation where the probability can be assigned, and uncertainty is the situation where probability cannot be assigned, as there is no exposure to such situation in the past. Now let's understand a very connected concept of return to the risk. It is the earning which an investor earns on the investment. It could be in the form of interest or dividend and capital gain. Usually return is expressed in percentage. Risk and return have a directly proportionate relationship with each other. If risk increases, the chances of return would also increase, and vice versa. In case of dividend income, the risk incurred in the investment is more, so chances of earning more dividends. Sometimes companies declare huge dividends, and sometimes the companies do not declare it at all. The expected rate of return is the sum of the product of each outcome and its associated probability. It is basically average rate of return which we are referring to. The average return on equity shares has been more than the average return on government bonds. The difference between the average share return and return on government bonds is the risk premium. Now let's summarize the concepts which we have discussed. Money has time value. A rupee is more valuable today than in a future period. This is because of various reasons, like one can use money for consumption, one can invest that money to earn a return, and there is less risk associated with the current receipt. A financial decision taken has a long-term impact and hence taken carefully by incorporating the concept of time value of money. Since cash flows involves different time periods, there should be some common denominator to compare them, and the basic requirement for a valid comparison is the incorporation of time value of money. It is necessary to convert the sums of money to a common point of time. The techniques which were employed to incorporate time value of money were broadly categorized into discounting and compounding.